What's up, everyone? This is going to be my most different vlog yet, with some challenges for Sunni Muslims and those people that said that they're just Muslims and Shia Muslims to expand their analysis and knowledge. Going forward, I'm going to refer to Sunni Muslims and those people that said that there are no sects in Islam and that they're just Muslims as the majority Muslims. I also want to make it clear that this video is not focused on piety or individual spirituality, as I believe I am no greater than anybody else based on what I believe in or my own individual process of being faithful to my faith. I believe each person's sins are their own battle, and nobody is much more significant or lesser than anybody else based on how they lead their path. The purpose of this video is to dismantle the manipulation within the authoritative direction of Islam, its leaders, the ignorant and lazy analysis, and its current state due to those decisions. So let's begin. For those who don't know, Muslims follow an Islamic calendar for our religious practices and spiritual occasions. Yesterday was the first day and month for the Islamic calendar, and this month signifies the separation between Shia and Sunni Islam, basically minority versus the majority. So we're tackling an extremely sensitive and massive topic which affects global politics, media propaganda, foreign allyships, and the lives of over 2 billion Muslims and their emotions. Most people, especially those that are outside of the faith, are told that this divide is just basic, ancient, historical, political separation, which happened so long ago that it does not matter anymore to the common Muslim, which is a complete fallacy told by the majority and promoted by the majority, which is a lazy, egotistical, controlling narrative that is used to keep people from studying the true facts. And if you've read my book, Muslim in Middle America, Ready for a Debate, there is a chapter called the Shia versus Sunni debate, and you know I don't hold any punches in that chapter. So today I'm going to be discussing the historical facts, the systemic power grabs, and the manipulation throughout history of shunning and separating the minority. Finally, and why rational analysis proves the case for the Ahlulbayt, the Shia way, to be the right path in Islam. It is the preserved true core of what Islam was meant to be and is. So before I dive deep into this topic, any Muslim majority people that do not want to go any further, I just want you to accept this one challenge. Go ask your Maulana, go ask your spiritual guide, or go ask anybody who you believe has really great knowledge of the Islamic theology and the succession to Prophet Muhammad. Then ask the same questions to a Shia academic or anybody at a Shia mosque. Then compare the answers with complete logic and the analysis of Prophet Jesus' betrayal by his own disciples. After that, pick up these books and do a complete rational comparative analysis. First being the Quran in your native language, not the Arabic format, the language that you speak daily and understand thoroughly. Second being the succession to Muhammad, the study of the early Caliphate by Wilfred Madelung. Third being Nahj al-Balagha, which means the peak of eloquence. These are the sermons, letters, and sayings of Imam Ali. The questions that you will need to ask and do a deep comparative analysis on are: why is the Muslim majority taught that the Prophet Muhammad could not read or write? Why did Umar deny Prophet Muhammad the pen and paper which he requested 4 days before his death to leave a message that would keep them from going astray? Why did Umar and Abu Bakr leave without making sure Prophet Muhammad's burial had began and finished? Why did Umar and Abu Bakr deem the Ansars as second-class citizens to decide the Prophet's successor? Why did Umar nominate Abu Bakr without all the great companions being present and the Prophet not being buried and his funeral announcements being made completely? Who would be held responsible for the burial of Prophet Muhammad and completing the funeral rites? Why did Umar and Abu Bakr steal the land of Fadak, which was gifted to Bibi Fatima, the Prophet Muhammad's daughter, while they were both alive and well? Why didn't Bibi Fatima, the Prophet's daughter, accept Abu Bakr's Khilafat publicly? Why did Umar attack Bibi Fatima and lit her house on fire, only a few months after the Prophet passed away? Why was Prophet Muhammad's only daughter and her unborn child murdered 6 months after the Prophet's death? And upon her request, she would be buried secretly without anybody knowing ever. Who were the murderers of Prophet Muhammad's only daughter and her unborn child? Why did Umar set unfair guidelines for the election of the third Khalifa? Why was the third Khalifa murdered by the Muslims in his own house? Who did Imam Ali send to the third Khalifa's house to protect him from the Muslims that were trying to murder him? Why did Abu Bakr's daughter Aisha start a war built on lies against Imam Ali? Why were the sons of Abu Bakr fighting on the side of Imam Ali against their own sister Aisha? Who were the allies of Aisha at the Battle of the Camel? Why were the grandsons of the Prophet assassinated and slaughtered, even though they were given the title of the Princes of Heaven and martyrs? Why were the great-grandsons of Prophet Muhammad, who were the greatest teachers of Islamic theology and principles, confined to imprisonment and torture and assassinations by other Muslims? Why are the Arab Muslim majorities such close allies with the West and Israel? Can a Muslim be considered a true believer beyond just saying the Shahada without ever reading the Quran in their native language and doing analysis of the books that taught all the schools of Islam? These questions are deep, but also the simple reasons of why Islam has such a bad reputation globally and why the divide between the sects is so dramatic. As all Muslims know, all the prophets and messengers that are mentioned in the Quran hold a significant place beyond just storytelling. Their message is an example on how to analyze and how to live your day-to-day life. Each prophet and messenger is also an example for the next prophet or messenger to understand how their situation can elaborate. There's a reason why the Virgin Mary has an entire chapter dedicated to her and Prophet Jesus. And that reason is beyond just her piety and her greatness. The reason is because her family would be torn apart by the hierarchy and the wealthy and those manipulators within their own circle. Prophet Jesus' teaching focused on a singular goal, which was the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. And such a kingdom cannot be formed unless God himself points out who the leaders of that kingdom are to be. The number 12 is linked to governance and authority, in the words of Prophet Jesus, ruling or judging over the 12 tribes of Israel within his kingdom. In the canonical Gospels, Prophet Jesus describes a singular kingdom, whereas 12 chosen in a circle will hold 12 distinct positions of authority acting as rulers or judges. In Matthew 19:28, truly I tell you, in the renewal of all things, when the Son of Man sits on his glorious throne, you, who have followed me, will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And in Luke 22:28-30, you are those who have stood by me in my trials. And I confirm on you a kingdom, just as my Father has confirmed one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. By choosing exactly 12 apostles, Prophet Jesus was signifying and signaling the reconstruction and the fulfillment of a new Israel. Just as the Old Testament's kingdom was built on the foundation of the 12 sons of Jacob. Now, as far as all Muslims know, Prophet Jesus was a Muslim. And he was the one who was coming to announce that the true leader is coming, so prepare for him. And the true leader was Prophet Muhammad. And if he speaks of the 12 apostles of his students would be Prophet Muhammad's 12 imams. Because they are the real knowledge holders of Islam. After Prophet Jesus, after Prophet Muhammad. And we all know when a prophet or a messenger speaks, they do not lie. Anything they say is an established prophecy, which is to come forth at any moment, at any time, based on God's guidance. So now we know before Prophet Muhammad, Prophet Jesus clearly spoke of the 12 that would be establishing God's kingdom. And those 12 cannot be the apostles who were around when Prophet Jesus was alive, because they were the ones who betrayed him. And the one to come to solidify Prophet Jesus' prophethood was Prophet Muhammad. And he spoke of his 12 imams who would teach and lead the Muslims till the end of time, when the final Imam Mahdi would return from his occultation, just like Prophet Jesus shall return back from his occultation to declare which is the correct religion of the true one God. Furthermore, this Muslim majority that is afraid to challenge the early authority of Islam and the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, you should just fast forward to the Battle of the Camel, which is much further away from the early companions' times. At that time, Abu Bakr was dead, Umar was dead, Uthman was dead. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The global majority of Muslims follow Sunni or Wahhabi sects of Islam. And simply because of the sheer numbers, their leadership tries to promote the narrative that Shias are just some rebels who want to follow in the path of Imam Ali, and they worship him and they worship the Imams, which is completely unfactual and a full-on lie that has been around for centuries after Prophet's family began being murdered and assassinated, and Imam Hussein was sacrificed. Now, let's be real, just because it's a majority doesn't mean that's the truth. Just look at Galileo's time. During that time, everybody believed that the earth was flat. It's completely unfactual. Now that we know it's not, does that make the fact that, majority at one point believed it, we can't let go of it? We cannot analyze it. We might disrespect those people from that time who believed in it. None of that holds logic. Factual analysis is all about rationality, timing, and situational awareness. So let's look at the facts. Where did this split and manipulation and corruption begin? Simple, immediately after Prophet Muhammad's death. Islam wasn't faulty all the way coming to the Ottomans or the Arabs. It was faulty as soon as Prophet Muhammad died and people knew a new kingdom was given birth to that needed control, which had the authority and the right message to rule others upon. Before Prophet Muhammad was even given a proper burial, a small group of people rushed to an area called Saqifah to start discussions on the next steps. Now think about the psychology here. I'm going to rush before the Prophet is buried because some people might not be around, and because we need to focus on a formation. That way there's no split in power or in wealth. That was the direction that people were going. Instead of saying, let's bury Prophet Muhammad, we can come together and settle this with the greatest companions all around, rather than some missing, some confused, and just narratives that didn't make any sense at the time, nor do they make now for election to take place that quickly. The three who rushed to Saqifah quickly to face the Ansars were Abu Bakr, Umar, and Abu Ubaidah. They immediately claimed superiority based on clan, age, wealth, and closeness to Prophet Muhammad, even though we know who was the closest to Prophet Muhammad since he was given birth in the Kaaba, Imam Ali. What is ironic is Islamic principles and Prophet Muhammad's teachings garner the fact that there cannot be any discrimination based on age, wealth, tribe, or history. Everything is done in Islam based on piety, merit, and knowledge, and morality. He built a system based on absolute equality, and the excuses that people come up with on that election has no reverence to how Islam was supposed to progress. There was supposed to be nothing but solutions that came out of the Quran and the Prophet's example. So Prophet never rushed. He always spoke on being patient, being silent, being moral, and being wise. So if a prophet was so patient that he even left his homeland to make sure that Islam was forming correctly, how could these people that were always around him rush without his family being present to do an election and to say that they were chosen in a way where they are the best? The establishment of the Muslim nation shows what a great statesman Prophet Muhammad was. He knew the power he held, and he knew what was to come with such a great kingdom in such a region. He was a level-headed manager. Anytime Prophet Muhammad had to leave for any duties, he would assign a leader behind him. Anytime he sent out a message, he declared who was a leader within that group. So does it make any sense that he would leave the fastest growing empire in the history of humanity into vagueness and no selected leader when he had days in his deathbed to make that decision and announce it to everybody? And if he didn't make that declaration while in his deathbed, that means only that he already made it clear who would be the next leader. Not only that it is him who made it clear, it is the person's actions that made it clear that he would be the next leader without anybody fighting over it in a public election that was rushed. Prophet Muhammad knew very well what happens in such situations. Nobody knew better the history of the past revelations. He knew how corruption and personal agendas ruined Prophet Jesus' message during and after his departure. To protect the social reforms he embedded into the world with God's word, he promised a line of divinely appointed leaders, teachers, and guardians of Islam. He explicitly chose the 12 Imams of Islam from his Ahlulbayt based on their merits and their knowledge. To us Shias, to enter the school of Islam, you just have to say the Shahada, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, which means there is only one God and no other God, and Prophet Muhammad is his final messenger. Now, to be an exemplary graduate of the school of Islam, you have to add the Aliyan Waliullah, which is saying Imam Ali is the Wali of Prophet Muhammad. He is the successor of Prophet Muhammad. And all the Imams from Imam Ali down to Imam Mahdi aren't just leaders and Imams based on blood ties. It is their exemplary wisdom, eloquence, and governance that made them earn those positions. Even though the Quran exists and the Prophet's example exists, why does the world have so much corruption and so much pain? If you truly want to understand that, the suffering and the misguidance in the world even today can be seen by the Muslim majority leaders and their treatment of Prophet Muhammad's family after he passed away. This is what we see happening all over in Muslim families, Muslim countries, and even other faiths, because it wasn't correctly established what to happen and how it needs to happen when someone passes away who has authority. First, Abu Bakr and Umar stole the fertile land of Fadak away from Bibi Fatima, and when Bibi Fatima and Imam Ali stood up for their rights, things quickly became violent. Umar showed up to her house for her to come out and for Imam Ali to come out, yelling that he requires them to bend their knee to Abu Bakr. And while this was being done, as Bibi Fatima came to her door, he shoved it so hard she was pushed into the wall with her unborn baby in her stomach and was severely injured, breaking her ribs and causing so much internal damage that she went straight into her deathbed. And all that pain wasn't enough. He even set her house on fire. Umar himself is quoted about this entire situation in historical records, admitting how they explicitly blocked the rights of the Ahlulbayt to Khaybar and Fadak, saying they would deny them even if their necks were cut with saws. History shows us the universal truth, how the marginalized, the minority, are the holders of the truth. You have to look at the contrast in the character, how those in power use bribery, use their wealth, use their connections, use any filthy way to stay on top, while those who help and aid the poor and want equality and want justice, they're the ones that stay at the bottom. They're the ones who suffer the most. Everyone knows after Prophet Muhammad there was nobody more righteous, more pious, more forthcoming than Imam Ali. Not only was he a warrior, he was an academic. He was a student of Prophet Muhammad since the days of Mount Hira. He never gave up. He always ran for whenever Prophet Muhammad called him. He always protected him. He always went through the same pains that Prophet Muhammad went through while spreading the message. He was the one who was married to his only daughter. He was the one who was the father of Prophet Muhammad's grandsons. He was the one who had the Zulfiqar, the sword of the heavens. There's just too many signs of why Imam Ali was the chosen Khalifa of Islam by God and by Prophet Muhammad's words. The early three Khalifas made massive mistakes and ruined the pristine message of Islam. They were mere humans who could face any type of criticism when they were in authority or not in authority. That is plain and simple. Just because you were an early companion of Prophet Muhammad, that doesn't mean that you cannot be criticized. And I speak on these failures not to breed any type of hatred, any type of divisiveness. It is just simply the truth. And to expose how greed and manipulation takes over the human mind when it is so close to your reach. Human nature is to systematically benefit. It is within us to want the best for ourselves and our family. So those who aren't part of the Prophet's family, they do not understand that God's message is for every person and equality is for every person. And what wealth any empire gains, it must be spread out for the greater good of all humanity, not just the wealthy, not just the powerful, not just those who have authority and history and a name. The global impact of these historical errors proves how vital it is to attack corruption at its core. Islam's true growth depends on building educated and diverse communities of outspoken thinkers and not just blind followers who just follow what their mom and dad told them to do. If you do not open up a book, read it, analyze it, and compare it to what the opposition is saying, you cannot be a true believer. You're just a blind follower. Just as Imam Ali did, we must rise above, focus on brotherhood, and push forward as one unified community. But true progression can only happen when people are willing to fight past the propaganda and look at the comparative analysis and finally face the facts of history and come together and compromise with those who aren't like their historical figures, who aren't like those people that told them what to do, who are simply focused on the knowledge and who are focused on establishing and growing a great community. For centuries now, the Muslim majority have taken advantage of the Quran's power and perfection. They claim that all the answers to our issues lie within the Quran, which isn't incorrect, but we need superior interpreters of the Quran due to its excellence and hierarchy of knowledge that does not exist unless you are capable of doing analysis in a way where you are not distracted or diverted from the truth of Prophet Muhammad's example. Just like any difficult book or journey, one must also rely on qualified teachers and educators to be able to interpret such excellence. We can only break down the text and its message by constant engagement with those who seep through every understanding of the knowledge and exercise it with all their actions at all times. Without Prophet Muhammad applying God's teachings in the Quran to his real life, nobody would have followed in his path. So, to be able to grasp the developments of the Quran, we can without a doubt say that there would be no Quran without Prophet Muhammad practicing its teachings. There are also no arguments on Prophet Muhammad elevating the Ahlulbayt and their position amongst the Muslims. This is also signified by how much trust and faith he had in his Ahlulbayt to say that they are the gatekeepers of Islam and the Quran, because even a single mistake by them would make all the cards fall. Many people challenge the superiority of the Ahlulbayt's political understanding and the excellence of their knowledge, but none dare ever challenge them on their faith and their closeness to the Prophet. Also, over time, history has proven that the Umayyad Empire and the Abbasid Empire, neither of them truly cared about Islam. Their main goal was to build empires and wealth. To them, God's message and the Prophet's work were just another avenue to be in control and in power. Even when the Prophet was alive within Arabia, lust and carnage prevailed. So to assume that any companion of the Prophet was pure without due analysis can lead us in the wrong direction. The Muslim majority confused the presence of the Prophet with automatic affirmation for those that surrounded him as being complete saints with no historical issue After all, these were just men that grew up with Prophet Muhammad. They thought that they knew him, so they can talk to him in any way that they can. Some had come from tribes that were superior to Prophet Muhammad's in relevance to wealth. Others had warrior blood in them, so they thought they could go against the Prophet in that manner. And throughout the times, you can see while Islam was forming that there was plenty of arguments that arose. Just like when Prophet Jesus spoke, his own disciples became weak at times when he went against Jewish traditions. The early illegitimate leaders of Islam tried to implement policies that separated the population if they went against their word to garner equality and progression for all rather than the fixed group that had a higher hierarchy within the tribes. Then their later generations try to amplify the propaganda through corrupt power transitions against the Shias. So they essentially planted the seeds for what is now in the Middle East the corrupt fraction of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, Qatar. Basically any Middle Eastern Gulf country that is against Iran were placed in position a long time before anybody can talk about the Ottomans, the Saudis, and the British, which basically gave power to the Wahhabis, an incorrect form of Islam, which is spread through this terrorism axis all throughout Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Just like Imam Ali, I've always preached to be patient and give them an opportunity to fix the mistakes they've made and fix the situations. But what is going on geopolitically right now with the United States, Israel, and Iran war and against all the Gulf states proves that they will never change. They're always going to ally with the wealthy and the corrupt, which is why it has been proven at this point that Shia Islam is the only right way of Islam. Iran stood up against the most powerful nation in the world with nuclear weapons and proved them wrong. Iran stood up against the wealthiest Arab nations and proved them wrong. And all they did was help. They could have gotten out, but they stayed in and battled just because they needed to support Lebanon, a poorer nation which is bordered by Israel. Iran could have said, hey, why should we help them? We did what we had to do. We've proven our case. As a nation under sanctions for 40 plus years, we defeated one of the greatest nations in the history of the world. And that is the Shia way. The Shias aren't there to fight for wealth or power or greed or corruption. They're there to fight for justice, equality, innocence, the Ahlulbayt, and the Prophet's true message at all times. Now that the people have heard the perspective of Shia Muslims, go ask your leaders in your mosque, why have they been lying for centuries that there are no sects in Islam, when clearly there are 270 million Shia Muslims who clearly separate ourselves from Sunni Islam, Wahhabi Islam, majority Islam. We're not like you guys. We do not practice like you guys. Only thing similar between us, we have the same God and the same prophets and messengers. But our practices, our political system, our way of engaging with our enemies, our way of engaging with our allies is completely different. We follow in the path of the Ahlulbayt. We don't follow in the path of the lying, leeching leaders who wanted wealth and corruption to prevail. They just continue on feasting and lying. Then they hide when the light shines. Then they act like they can't do nothing about it. The Muslim majority are nothing but pets of the Western world. Even worse than pets of the Western world, because they'll choose their dogs and cats over you guys. Nothing but a bunch of double agents who eat with their enemies and starve their own. Other than that, on a day-to-day basis, yeah, we're all brothers and we all live together in peace. But when it comes to the system, when it comes to helping others, we are not alike. We are not the same. You guys are nothing but a bunch of puppets. We're the academics, when we're the analyzers. When we break down the religion of Islam, we deep dive into every aspect of what the Prophet and his family executed and what they willed and what they foresee in the future. And all the prophecies that we believe will come true will only come true in the path of Shia Muslims, not the Sunnis, not the Wahhabis. So if there is any doubt, if God were to ask you guys when the judgment day comes, who were the people that protected the Palestinians, that protected the Lebanese, you're going to come out there and say, it was the Iranis. But guess what? The Iranis themselves will say, no, it's the Shia blood in us. It's the Shia ideology in our minds. It's the Ahlul Bayt in our hearts. So, to the Muslim majority that have adopted the newest technique of manipulation by calling Shias who separate ourselves from the Sunnis, by calling us the Zionist partners, by calling us the Western manipulators, guess what? Your reverse psychology isn't going to work anymore. There's too much hard evidence with the internet, with the phones in our hands, to showcase that the Shia Muslims are on the right path. It is you guys who manipulate and twist when we want to separate ourselves from your corrupt fractions, from your corrupt Islam, from your leaders of old days and new days that do nothing but wrong, that take away the rights of the Prophet and his family. You guys are nothing like us and we are nothing like you. At the end of the day, when they ask, were you the Muslims that didn't take part with the majority, we will say it proudly. We are the minority believers of the Imams and the Prophet and his family. We're not out here to do what you guys want us to do and say what you want us to do and shell up and be shy. Oh, because we're separating the Ummah? No, the Ummah's been separated since the day the Prophet died. Now, if the Muslim majority wants to say that my words are divisive, guess not. It's not. It's just the truth. For centuries now, your leaders, your majority has tortured, slaughtered, and killed Shias all over the world. So ask yourself this: when was the last time you even posted on social media about a Shia massacre? Whether it's in a school, whether it's in a mosque. When was the last time you posted about Shia doctors being kidnapped in Pakistan and killed? When was the last time you posted about the small villages all over Saudi Arabia that are Shia, that are controlled and that are spied on, and their academics are kidnapped and tortured and thrown in prison for months and years? You don't, because you believe we are different from you also. But everything that your leaders have told you about us, everything is wrong. No, we don't pray 3 times a day only. No, we don't worship the stone that we put our head on. And I don't even want to give you the reasons of why we do that, because at the end of the day, nothing's going to change your mind, because you guys don't read. None of you guys read. Also, never forget, Islam teaches us to live in peace with atheists, Christians, Jews, Hindus, any other religion, any other person. We must live in peace unless they cause harm to us first. Islamic laws are all about defense. We're not supposed to be on the offense. We only react when we're attacked. So when it comes down to it, you guys manipulated monotheism, religious texts, and principles. The majority fails living in the path of the prophets and messengers when it comes to equality and group progression and the Ummah. Your analysis of history and theology is complete wrong just so you feel powerful in numbers and ancestral traditions. We cannot unite with any one of y'all, because y'all don't know how to stand up for what is right and good. So say what you want to say, but the evidence couldn't be any more clear than it is now. And historical analysis will prove even more why our leaders are the right leaders and the first 3 caliphs were nothing but thieves, liars, and manipulators. And since we are the true believers of Prophet Muhammad and his Ahlulbayt, we even forgive them. We will even ask God for their forgiveness. But at the end of the day, we know our God is just. So even with our forgiveness on them, we are given more prominence for our behavior and our actions. So my final challenge is actually for the Shia Muslims to pick up the books, the great texts, the great knowledge that our Imams have left us, that our scholars in the modern day have given us. It is our time to be vocal now. If not, then it is only going to get worse and worse. So absorb every ounce of knowledge that proves the case for Imams being God's chosen interpreters of the Quran, God's chosen leaders of the world, God's chosen people of piety, goodness, and moral behavior. Start off with the book The Lantern of the Path by Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. The Succession to Muhammad, The Study of Early Khilafat by Wilfred Madelung. Nahj al-Balagha, Sermons, Letters, and Sayings of Imam Ali. The 14 Infallibles, a compilation of speeches and lectures by Sayyid Ammar Naqshwani. The Choice by Ahmad Deedat. No God But God, The Origins, the Evolution, and Future of Islam by Riza Aslan. Zealot, The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth by Riza Aslan. The Autobiography of Malcolm X. These books will give you a ground to stand on whenever you're confronted about your faith, whenever you're confronted about Islam, and proving the case that Prophet Muhammad is God's final messenger and the Quran is the final holy book, and that Al-Mahdi, the final Imam, shall return and save the world from complete destruction and devastation, a Shia Imam of the Muslims.